time.
Yeah.
How are wholesalers now still getting paid in deals since they're not getting the 6% commission? And do we still have to bring an agent in there while we have a wholesaler that brings you a lead? So let's kind of walk through a little bit about them bringing you a lead, how they still get paid, how much work are they doing versus you and the agent if there's another agent involved.
So we actually have a couple of different ways that they can bring us a lead, but I'm going to have Rick elaborate on that because Rick's probably a little more well versed on explaining that because he has been explaining it more than I have. We put it together, but Rick has more experience explaining that aspect of how this particular opportunity works for people. So I'm going to hand that over.
Yeah, right. So basically on our website, you'll see that there is that membership option, and by the name IPA for real estate investors, we're investors, and that's the way we're thinking, right? But I would say 35% of the group already are licensed agents, right? So we've got a mix of those who are coming in and being educated, and you can submit the deal into us and just bring a deal, as a 50-50 JV, right? So that wholesaler who has got this lead that most would say is a trash lead, or I can't do with anything with it because it's got low equity or no equity, or I don't know what I'm doing in this particular situation. Because yeah, we're talking a lot about short sales, but really it's pre-foreclosure where you start, right, with the payoff and the reinstatement to actually prescribe the solution. Going back to Williams, emergency room analogy, we've got to actually prescribe a solution that is going to get the homeowner or the borrower what they need. So it can come in that way, but then also the members of the group, and we've talked a lot about the actual education portion of it being great, but it's really more about that action, the hands-on learning, and that's where we will actually use our systems, our processes, our negotiating skills to help as an equitable partner in each of these deals. So members on the inside have the ability to essentially become our equitable partner in a transaction. We'll use our paperwork, we'll use our skills to negotiate with everybody. All the while, that member is a party to everything that's going on so that they can learn how to do the transaction. They don't have to submit any transactions to JV on. They can just be part of the weekly meetings where we're going through actually live deals and what's going on and everything else. And so that is really, as the buyer, as we're teaching primarily for the investor, we are the buyer, right? And that's where we can choose to keep the property in the areas that we want, a high value target, and we want to keep it, or we can turn around and then sell it to one of our trusted flippers or buy and hold investors or whoever it may need to be. So the realtor is the realtor getting paid by the institution or the bank, right? That's just coming right off of their agreement to participate in the process. The wholesaler, coming from the outside world is taking a lead that they would normally turn around and get 50% of something, which is better than 100% of nothing, right? And that's kind of how we're operating from that perspective. And we talk a lot about short sales again, but it's really that prescription, right? Is subject to, right, the right solution for this particular borrower in the moment, because ultimately we're trying to help them, right? And if that's not the right solution, then we kind of go down the list of, is it a lease option? What are these types of transactions in the forced sale world that make sense for the borrower? And kind of, we've talked about a lot of other things that all kind of get into why over the last 7 years, I've kind of found myself going in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
And that is because that low hanging fruit where you're competing against 5 other or 10 other wholesalers and you have to answer a seller this afternoon or within an hour and make an offer just to be competing against 5 other people, that's not a lot of fun. It's a KPI, it's just a numbers game, and that's kind of how it's going to go. But if you are working your way up that ladder, right, to where you are at the top of it, providing some specialized services, you don't have that level of competition. You aren't beating up a seller for their equity. You are taking that and working with them to provide a solution. So solution-based selling to then beat up the banks and the institutions and anybody else that kind of stand in the way, right? That's a lot more of a noble cause, right, than going after and just trying to just be, just a transactional based person. So that was we went into a lot about it, but I mean, from the outside, we already have, a lot of people submitting in deals from just a JV perspective. This is not something I specialize in. I'd walk away from it. So let's go ahead and see what we can get done. One of the main things that the group actually teaches is networking and working with those professionals, the realtors, the brokers, the bankruptcy attorneys, the mortgage brokers, and whoever else they might be interested in working with you. I am now receiving leads in my local market from other real estate investors,
Nice.
right? I haven't done anything, right? These aren't leads that I'm working for. They just know what my specialty is, and they're bringing those deals to me because they're like, this is not our forte. We'd rather just work with you and work through you on this. And so a lot of referral leads start to come in, which takes your traditional marketing costs and bring them way down because of that specialized knowledge that you have.